The sky went silent. The Galactic Council had gathered in full strength. Leaders from over 50 star systems floated inside the grand dome of unity. The hall stretched like a crystal shell over a glowing planet, with stars visible above and fleets hovering in formation. They had gathered to discuss peace, trade, territory. But one name had suddenly returned to their reports. Earth. A name not spoken in centuries. A name many had forgotten. Some believed Earth had destroyed itself long ago. Others thought humans had become a minor species too weak to matter. No one expected them to return, and no one expected what happened next. At first, the warning came as a whisper. A Council scout ship orbiting the edge of neutral space reported strange readings, power surges, gravity spikes. Then the message cut off. Gone. Without a trace. That's when the Council grew uneasy. Within minutes, more outposts went dark. Comms froze. Satellites lost signal. A thick silence spread across entire sectors. Ships sent to investigate never returned, and then it happened. In the sky above the Council dome, space shimmered, not with light, with absence. One by one, massive objects began to appear, pulling themselves out of hiding. First in shadows, then in full view. They had no banners, no bright colors, no greetings, just dark hulls, sharp angles, glowing blue cores. Earth's fleet had decloaked. Panic rushed through the Council. These ships were not small. They were not peaceful. They were warships, huge, silent, motionless. But something about them felt different. Older, stronger, like machines that had seen too many wars and still chose to fight. The Council tried to speak. Identify yourselves. This is restricted airspace. State your purpose. No reply. Then a message came, not through normal frequencies. It arrived in the minds of every leader present. We heard your silence. Now hear ours. And the sky lit up. Thousands of ships, black, angular, some shaped like hammers, others like knives. They did not move to attack. They only hovered, like ghosts of a forgotten war. The Council had never seen these models before. No records, no blueprints, yet they carried Earth's emblem, a broken ring around a burning planet. That's when the fear started, not because Earth came with weapons, but because they came prepared. A single ship descended closer. It didn't fire. It simply opened a visual channel. And inside, the Council saw humans, calm, focused, wearing deep black uniforms with no names. Just one symbol, Earth. The human in the center leaned forward. You called us extinct. You called us primitive. You were wrong. Leaders whispered to one another. How did they build these? They had no empire, no allies. This fleet was never detected. The answer came before they could ask. While you built thrones, we built silence. While you watched, we waited. And now, we have returned. Council fleets started to rise. Some prepared to fire. Others demanded retreat. But none moved. Because every scanner, every targeting system, every defense grid had stopped working. Earth hadn't attacked. They had already taken control. A delegate finally spoke. What do you want? The human replied simply, a seat, and silence while we speak. No threats, no shouting. But every species in that hall felt it. This was not a request. It was a reminder, because Earth didn't come to start a war. They came to end a lie. Earth's demand. Truth in the Hall of Stars, the Council Hall, was frozen. No one moved. No one blinked. Above them, Earth's massive warships hovered like ancient gods awakened from sleep. No shields active. No weapons aimed. But the message was clear. They didn't need to threaten. They had already won the silence. Inside the crystal dome, the galactic leaders huddled in shock. Their finest minds couldn't explain how the human fleet arrived undetected, or how it shut down their systems without firing a shot. Still, The human envoy stood calm on the central platform. No guards, no weapon, just one voice. And behind that voice, an entire planet's forgotten fury. "We are not here to kneel," the human said. "We are not here to beg for a place. We are here for truth." A murmur spread through the council. "What truth? What are they talking about? This isn't how diplomacy works." The human raised a small black device and placed it on the council table. It lit up. A hologram filled the room. It showed Earth, centuries ago, burning, dying, crying for help, and the council, watching. Dozens of ships floating silently beyond, the edge of Earth's system, observing, recording. "You saw us fall," the human continued. "You had the power to stop it, but you chose to turn away." Gasps echoed across the chamber. Some delegates looked confused, others horrified. But a few looked guilty. A transmission played from the past. Let them break themselves. If they survive, they may be useful one day. The speaker was still alive, one of the council's oldest members. He stood now pale and speechless, trying to deny his voice. But the proof was clear. The council hadn't just ignored Earth's collapse. They allowed it. On purpose. "You used our pain as a test," the human said, "and now we return, not to destroy you, but to remind you that Earth remembers." One delegate slammed his hand on the table. "This was long ago. We thought you were lost." The human turned to him with a cold stare. "Lost doesn't mean forgotten." Another leader, desperate to restore control, shouted, "You arrive with warships and yet speak of peace. This is a threat." "No," the human replied. "This is our presence, and presence is not a threat. But it can become one." At that moment, every monitor in the council dome lit up. Each showed a different star system. Each showed an Earthship already there, quiet, watching, decloaked. From trade worlds to defense colonies, humanity had already arrived. The council was never in control, not anymore. A young delegate stood up, voice shaking. "What do you want from us?" The answer came, calm but unstoppable. "You will open your archives, show the galaxy what was hidden. You will admit what was done, and you will listen. Because if you don't, Earth will not fight. We will expose, and your empires will burn under your own lies." For the first time in thousands of years, the council had no answer, not because of fear, but because truth had finally landed, in ships built of metal, silence, and memory. Outside the station, Earth's fleet remained still. No weapons fired, no systems blinked, just thousands of ships, waiting, and every world that had mocked Earth now watched, knowing the past was no longer buried. It had decloaked, just like the fleet. The archives of silence, the council chamber stood still like time had paused. The leaders, once proud and loud, now sat in quiet fear. Above them, Earth's fleet loomed, silent, unmoving, but impossible to ignore. The human envoy stepped back, letting the room digest the truth. A single sentence echoed inside every delegate's mind. "Your lies are heavier than your ships." Then the black device on the council table glowed again. A new hologram appeared. It was labeled Council Archive 9B, Earth Observation, Redacted. It was supposed to be locked, buried, deleted. But the humans had it. The hologram played a secret meeting, council members discussing Earth like a broken experiment. Let the humans burn. If they survive, maybe they'll evolve. They're violent, unstable, short-lived. They won't reach the stars. If they do, we'll be long gone. Some council members watching this now were in that recording. They looked away. They didn't deny it. Because they couldn't. The human envoy spoke again. "We learned to walk without you. We learned to fight our own wars. We survived every fire you thought would kill us. And now, we're here. The chamber started to shift. Some younger species began to whisper among themselves. They didn't know about these secrets. They had grown up believing Earth was weak, chaotic, nothing more than a forgotten world. Now they saw the truth, and some of them began to feel something dangerous. Respect. The head of the council finally stood. She was old, ancient even. Her voice was cold steel. You dare invade our space, expose our history, and then speak of peace? The human turned their gaze toward her. We didn't invade. We entered quietly. We didn't destroy. We revealed. And your history is not yours to hide anymore. Suddenly, dozens of council ships moved into position. They surrounded Earth's fleet, aiming weapons. A warning. The council's military leader barked orders. They've shown us their teeth, prepare to strike. But then, something happened. Every Earthship powered up. No words, no warnings, just glowing cores pulsing with quiet blue fire. But they didn't aim weapons. They didn't move to attack. Instead, a wave of energy spread from their ships, fast, clean, silent, and in 1 second, every weapon on every council ship shut down. Engines froze, defense systems locked, targeting failed. The human envoy raised one hand. We told you. We came prepared. Gasps spread through the room. They hadn't launched a single attack. Yet, they now controlled the entire battlefield. The old council head shook with rage. You threaten us with systems we've never seen. No, the human replied. We warn you with silence you chose to ignore. Then came the final blow. The black device showed one last file. A name appeared. Council Protocol, Earth. Containment Plan. It showed blueprints, plans to destroy Earth if they ever grew too strong. A secret backup attack, filed hundreds of years ago, signed by many of the leaders in the room. The room broke into chaos. Voices shouted. Accusations flew. Some leaders stood to defend the truth. Others tried to escape blame, but no one looked at the humans anymore. They couldn't. Because they knew. Earth had known everything, and they had come not for war, but for justice. Above the station, Earth's ships remained steady. No shots fired. No ships lost. Just a fleet built in shadows. Finally standing in the light. And in that moment, every empire watching from across the galaxy realized something. Earth had never needed to attack. The truth did the damage for them. Fear in the Council. A galaxy reconsiders Earth, the Council. Chamber was broken, not by weapons, not by war, but by truth. Earth had shown them everything, files, plans, betrayals. Even the secret containment protocol that had marked Earth as a threat before it had ever reached the stars. Now the truth had no walls left to hide behind, and silence was louder than screams. Far across the galaxy, millions of species watched. The live broadcast. From desert planets to gas giants, from space stations to hollowed moons, everyone saw it. The Council wasn't strong anymore. It was scared. Inside the Dome of Unity, some delegates stood in shame. Others sat frozen, heads lowered. A few left the room completely, unable to face what had just been revealed. The human envoy remained calm in the center. Still, watching, waiting. They had not come to destroy. But now the galaxy was tearing itself apart without them lifting a finger. One of the smaller world's delegates finally stood. She was from a moon colony, a younger species, not part of the inner circle. Why didn't you strike first? She asked quietly. The human looked at her. Because we're not what they said we were. He paused. And if we had acted like them, we would have become them. Those words echoed through the room. They weren't just sentences. They were judgment and warning. But not everyone was ready to accept the shift. The military faction of the Council began to regroup. A general, red-eyed and breathing heavy, stepped forward. Earth is still dangerous, he growled. They control systems we can't detect. That makes them a threat. So does truth, the human replied. The general slammed his hand on the table. We must strike now, before their influence spreads. But no one moved, because fear had changed direction. For the first time in 1,000 years, the council feared each other more than outsiders. Suddenly, a new signal came through. Not from Earth, not from the council, from deep space. A quiet, cold voice spoke. We have observed. We are coming. No one recognized the signal, not even Earth. It repeated again. Council secrets are exposed. War is weakness, and we feed on weakness. The room went dead silent. The human tapped a device. Instant. Scans spread out across space, and what they saw was worse than anything they expected. Thousands of dark shapes moving on the edge of the galaxy. No heat, no light, no drive trails, just shadows. Fast, silent, closing in. And they weren't heading toward Earth. They were heading straight for the council worlds. Panic erupted. Who are they? Where did they come from? Why now? The human answered first. They were waiting. Waiting for your walls to fall. Waiting for your lies to divide you. Now, they think you're weak. One council leader turned to the human, trembling. You knew about them? We knew something was coming, he replied. But we didn't know when. The human stepped forward, voice calm. Now, you have two choices. Fight alone and fall. Or stand with the one world you left behind. It was a turning point, not just for the council, but for the galaxy. Because suddenly, Earth wasn't the enemy. Earth was the shield. The human raised his hand one final time. We didn't decloak to start war. We decloaked because war was already coming. The rising shadows. Earth's final warning. The stars were changing. On the outer edge of known space, something dark moved. Silent, vast, and without heat. It didn't blink on scanners. It didn't respond to signals. It didn't even cast light. It just spread, like ink in water. The council tried to stay calm, but fear had already cracked their walls. Meetings turned to shouting matches. Allies questioned each other. Some wanted to run, others wanted to hide. But Earth stood still, not afraid, just ready. Inside the council dome, the human envoy watched the chaos unfold. Then he placed a new device on the table. It looked older, worn, like it had traveled far. This is what you tried to bury. A new projection appeared. It showed an old human station, far beyond the edge of the galactic map. Alarms blared, lights flickered, and then everything went black. A shape moved across the feed. No face, no color, just void. The transmission ended with one word, whispered by a dying voice. They don't want planets. They want fear. The room went cold. The human looked at the council. We found them before, long ago. We called them the Hollow Ones. They don't invade with ships. They break unity. They eat trust. They waited until your lies were louder than your laws. Now the Hollow Ones were coming in full. The council's military leader tried to organize defenses, deploy fleets, protect the homeworlds, but the scanners showed the truth. Too many, too fast, too spread out. Council ships weren't ready, but Earth's were. One by one, Earth's warships moved, not toward safety, but toward the dark. They formed a long line across the rim of council space, a wall, a final defense, and then they sent out one last signal. We do not ask for permission. We were forgotten once. We will not let the stars fall again. A young species leader stepped forward. His people had never fought in real war, but his voice didn't shake. We stand with Earth. Then another voice joined. Then another, until dozens of systems pledged ships, resources, soldiers, all under one name, not the Council, the alliance of the last light, led by Earth. Suddenly the power balance of the galaxy shifted, and the Hollow Ones noticed. From deep space a new signal came, this time louder, heavier, as if space itself was speaking. The shield rises, the fire returns, let us taste your fear. And then, the stars blinked out, not from power loss, from something stepping into reality. The first clash came near a red dwarf system. 3 council ships disappeared, then 2 more. Then Earth's ships arrived. Their hulls glowed with anti-gravity plating. Weapons older than the council itself roared to life, but these weren't normal weapons. They were memory-based. Each shot carried emotion, pain, survival, loss, echoes of Earth's darkest times, and somehow, it burned the Hollow Ones. The darkness screamed, and for the first time, it pulled back. Back in the council dome, the human envoy's voice echoed. We built war from memory, from what you left us in silence. Now, we carry that silence into the dark. If we fall, you fall too. But if we stand, maybe the galaxy learns what Earth was always meant to be. Not a weapon, not a mistake, but the one world that refused to die. The wall of Earth, the galaxy's last line. The stars near the edge of the galaxy no longer shone, not because they were gone, but because something darker had arrived. The Hollow Ones, ancient, silent, endless. They didn't speak with mouths. They didn't move with engines. They twisted space around them. They broke minds without a sound. They were not ships. They were living shadows, feeding on chaos, on fear, on division. And now they were heading for the heart of the galaxy. But between them and the council stood Earth. A wall of warships, black as obsidian, old in design but terrifying in silence. This wasn't just a defense, it was a message. If we fall, it will be on our feet, not on our knees. Inside Earth's flagship, codenamed Sentinel Prime, the crew waited. No panic, no cries. Just focus. Each crew member had trained for this. Each ship had one mission: hold the line. The first wave came fast. Black spears of nothingness tore across the void. They didn't fire lasers. They didn't launch missiles. They simply erased things. Entire moons gone in seconds. Satellites folded into themselves. Council drones melted mid-transmission. Then the Hollow Ones reached Earth's fleet, and something unexpected happened. They slowed. Earth ships were different. Each vessel was coated in null steel, a material built from deep space debris and layered with quantum disruption fields. Not even light bounced off it properly. The Hollow Ones tried to consume the ships, but the ships resisted, and then Earth fired back, not just with weapons. With history, Earth's cannons launched memory charges, compressed data bombs holding human history. Wars survived, cities rebuilt, songs sung under ashes, hands held in burning ruins. The Hollow Ones fed on fear. But Earth had evolved beyond fear. They had learned to carry pain as armor. And when the charges hit the shadows, they screamed. From behind Earth's line, council ships joined in, nervous, shaken, but inspired. We follow Earth, for the Alliance, for the light. It was no longer just Earth's battle. It was everyone's. The wall held, but just barely. 10 Earth ships were already lost, dozens more damaged, yet they didn't retreat. Every time a ship went dark, another moved forward to fill the gap. Inside the council dome, the leaders watched in silence. A live feed showed the wall glowing, cracking, bleeding light into the void. But it stood, and as they watched humans give everything, something changed inside the counselors. Not fear, shame. They had abandoned Earth long ago. Now Earth was saving them. Without hesitation. A message came through from Sentinel Prime. This is not Earth's war, it's yours. We're just the ones who remembered how to fight when no one else would. At the far edge of the battle line, a massive hollow form appeared, taller than stations, wider than planets, a core shadow. It pulsed with black lightning. Every star near it dimmed. Space cracked around it. One council admiral screamed, "It will break the line." But Earth already knew. They had seen worse. The command was given. Bring in the Ark class. From deep behind the fleet, a hidden ship decloaked, 10 times larger than anything in orbit, carved from asteroid metal and reinforced with an unknown core, rumored to be powered by a dying star's heart. The ship's name was simple, Honor, and its purpose was clear: break the breaker. It charged silently toward the core shadow. The council watched, breathless. The hollow mass sent out waves of distortion, crushing anything near it. But Honor didn't stop. It activated its final weapon. Hope flare. A burst of light. Not heat. Not force, but raw human hope. Collected from every signal, every archive, every heartbeat left in Earth's memory. The blast tore through the core shadow, and in one final scream, it vanished. The battlefield went still. No more hollow ones came. Not because they were destroyed, but because for the first time in history they were afraid. Earth's wall had held. The line didn't break. The stars slowly began to shine again. After the battle, Earth's new role in the galaxy. The stars had stopped burning red. The hollow ones were gone, not destroyed, but driven back, silenced by something they didn't understand, and feared too late. Hope, not just a word, a force, and Earth had become its weapon. Above the rim of council space, Earth's warships held their positions. Their hulls were damaged, their lights flickered. Smoke rose from some engines, but they were still there, and more importantly, they were still watching. In the Galactic Council dome, silence ruled. The same leaders who once laughed at Earth now stood because of it, not by Earth's rule, but by its choice. A new session was called, not for war, not for judgment, but for recognition. The Council's head, once proud and unbending, now stood humbly before the human envoy. "Earth," she said quietly, "you've done what no one could, what we failed to even imagine. You stood between extinction and survival. The galaxy owes you." But the human didn't smile. He didn't gloat. He simply answered, with calm words, "You don't owe us. You owe the ones you forgot. You owe the silence you caused." The council voted unanimously. Earth was no longer an outsider, no longer a forgotten planet on the edge of maps. They were now given something no species had received in over 5,000 years. Guardian status. A new role, not a ruler, not a tyrant, but a keeper of balance. Across the stars, the message spread. Planets that once banned humans now welcomed them. Stations that once blocked Earth's ships now flew their flag beside them. Children in distant colonies learned new names in history books, names that had once been erased. But Earth didn't celebrate. There were no parades, no speeches, because Earth remembered what others had forgotten. This peace was earned in pain, and peace was never permanent. Back aboard Sentinel Prime, the crew stood silent as the stars slowly returned to normal. The captain stared into the dark. "They'll come again," he said. A junior officer nodded. "Yes, sir, but so will we." In the far corners of the galaxy, the shadows still moved, weaker now, but learning, waiting, and Earth knew they weren't finished. They never were. But next time, they wouldn't face a forgotten world. They'd face a galaxy that remembered who led when no one else would. A final message was sent from Earth to all systems. It was short, no threats, no warnings, just a promise. "We are not your past. We are your shield, and we will not vanish again." The galaxy had changed, and in the quiet that followed the storm, humanity stood at its center, not feared, not ignored, but respected, because in the moment the stars went dark, it was Earth that lit the way.